I was with the 5th of the 46th 198 Light Infantry Brigade, Americal Division. That was my outfit.
And what years?
68. I got in there in March, and I got out of there at the end of October because I had that about 9 months left in the service, so they had me in there. And the last 2 weeks, I get to go on base camp because they learned a valuable lesson. They had these guys out there to the end, and it was a couple guys with a couple of weeks that got blown up, so they put us in base, let us sit in the base camp for the last couple of weeks.
And then what areas of Vietnam?
68.
Oh no, what area? What areas? Like what?
Oh, I Corps up north. Around Chu Lai was our main headquarters, and it was just a little bit south of Da Nang and around that area. So, where I was at most of the time, I have no idea.
Excellent.
They just sent us someplace. I could have been in Cambodia. I have no idea. They just send us someplace, and we wander around and look for the bad guys. That's all I could tell you. So I could say a lot of times I had no idea where we were at.
So first question for you. So what was your life like before the Vietnam War, and what did you imagine your future might look like?
We talked, yeah, your grandma and I were talking about that. And really, I was in college, and then for a couple of years in Indiana State, and your grandma and I met. We ended up getting married August the 27th of 66. And I was just going to do just get a job in a mill, like people were doing back then, work in a mill and raise a family, and that was about it. I was in 2 years down in Indiana State, but at that time, that was 64 to 66. There wasn't anything going on on campuses, at least not in Indiana State, about the war. Nobody cared about it. I mean, there wasn't any protest or anything, so it was never thought too much about it. But again, like I say, and then I got my draft notice, and your grandma and I were married August the 27th, and it was about a month later, I think, I got my draft notice. And then I think it was November 1st, I went into Chicago to take a physical, and headed out to Fort Campbell, Kentucky for my basic training. It was kind of unique. At that time, the Monkees had a song called The Last Train to Clarksville.
Oh, nice.
And I was on the last train to Clarksville because
Nice.
that was a town that we ended up in before we went into the base at Fort Campbell. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Did you ever think about military service before the draft came into your life?
Nah.
No?
Nah.
It was never really any...
No, I never had, the interest in history, so I had interest in the military, but as for me being in the military, I never had. In fact, when I was in high school, they put me in ROTC, and I had a fit, and they finally let me out of ROTC. I ended up in mechanical drawings.
Oh, nice. Interesting,
So
yeah.
How how interested I was in the military.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, so the time came where you were drafted, right? Can you tell me about when you learned you were going to be drafted, and how did you react to this news?
Oh, well, we were... I'd say we come home one day, and the mill was there, and it said greetings, and that was the way Johnson and Lyndon Johnson informed you that I can't give you the exact wording. I'm probably off by about 10 miles. Basically, it said we need you for the service or something, and they still had the draft, of course, and so I was drafted, and so it was another a little tidbit about it. It was we got the paper, and your grandma and I went out to have pizza at a place called Roma's. That was in Gary, and it was a nice restaurant. Everybody go there for pizza. So I walk in there, and I run into a friend of mine named John Lincoln. And John, I told him what had happened. Oh, I'm sorry to hear about you, Steve, and everything like that. So anyway, about 2 weeks later after that is when I had to go in to take my physical in Chicago. And guess who was on? John Lincoln. He went home that night because he hadn't been home in a couple of days. And there right on his table was his draft notice too. So John Lincoln and I had both gone drafted together. And another thing about John was kind of funny was we're in line taking a physical, and there's a big heavyset fellow in front of me, and the doctors are, you're 4 up, and John was all excited because John was pretty heavy set too. So maybe they tell you you're 1A or whatever the heck it is. I said, yeah. And John with the big smile on his face, and they looked at, you're 1A. What? He started screaming. And he said, hey kid, you quiet down or we'll put you at the end of the line. You'll end up in the Marine Corps.
Right.
Yeah, John quieting down. So so anyway, we both got drafted. There was about 3 or 4 other people I knew that I went to school with who got drafted at the same time.
You saw a lot of familiar faces there?
Oh, yeah. We all went to Campbell together. Campbell together, yeah.
Now, when you received that news, right, you did all that, how did your family and friends, well, obviously you got a couple friends, but how did your family react to you being drafted?
Well, my mom and dad weren't happy about it because my brother Joe was already drafted. He was serving in the military, and he ended up in Vietnam before me. So they weren't happy about it. My dad served in World War II like everybody else did, and he knew what war was. So
right, they weren't pleased.
They weren't happy, and
yeah. And then so feelings about leadership. So what were your feelings towards President Lyndon B. Johnson and the government's decision to escalate U.S. involvement in Vietnam?
Politics didn't mean much to me. It was a friend of mine who passed away a few years ago. We had an old joke about Lyndon B. Johnson and the '64 election. Him and I both voted for Goldwater, and everybody in the world told you if you vote for Goldwater, you're going to be in a war. Well, him and I both voted for Goldwater. We didn't even know each other at the time. But the funny thing was, they were right about that.
Right.
Because we both ended up in Vietnam.
Yeah, true.
Even though we voted for Goldwater, Jonathan made sure we got there.
Right.
Yeah. I didn't think too much about politics then.
Right. But it changed as you went throughout, the conflict and coming back home.
I started having feelings about it. Yeah.
Definitely.
We really never talked too much about it because, like I say, it wasn't going, nothing toward the war or anything was going on on campus or when your grandma and I got married, I would work I was iron working, but I knew I wasn't going to stick with that, so I got a job at U.S. Steel in the mill. So I'm the mill's mill. We're not worrying about war. I'm living at that time living a normal life. We got to raise your grandma and I are married. We want to get a nice house, we want a car, and all that stuff.
You're kind of blindsided by it.
Yeah. We weren't even thinking about that.
Right. Now, that being said, so what kind of training did you receive before being sent to Vietnam, and did it prepare you for what you faced?
Well, I went through basic like everybody else does, and it was Fort Campbell, Kentucky, and after I was done with there, we got our orders, and then my order, I don't know. When I was in basic, I did well, I guess. They put me up for, if I wanted to, I would have had, I was 2 years drafted, I would have had a sign up for a third year for OCS school, but I wasn't interested. I just wanted to get out of it. Right. 2 years again. So when I got them at basic and I get my orders, and it's for infantry school in Fort Polk, Louisiana, you could knock me over a feather.
Right.
Because we were at Fort Campbell, and at that time, the 101st was still there. That was before they went to Vietnam. So guys saying, you thinking about going in airborne or something? I said, I want to be a clerk. I don't need a clerk. What I'm going to do, jump out of a plane with a typewriter or something?
Right.
So I never thought I was going to be in infantry or anything along that line. But,
right.
Anyway, so I went to AIT in Fort Polk, Louisiana. They call it Tigerland, and they set it up to be like Vietnam, where perimeter with different things like in Vietnam.
Right, kind of like jungle warfare.
Yeah, kind of like it, but more than anything, we went from one day we would go to a rifle range, next day we go to 50 caliber machine gun range, another range we go to some other kind of range or something, because in fact, I think we were using M14 then, because in basic I had an M14. I think that, so when I get to Vietnam, they had, well before, they had me an M16, which I never had.
Oh, right. Yeah. Kind of off topic. This wasn't one of the questions, but did you have a lot of issues with the M16? But then,
Yeah, it was a terrible weapon. Yeah,
jammed a lot and whatnot.
Yeah, I guess it's better now. Well, they don't even do that. What, they got 15 or something?
M4 now.
Yeah. But yeah, it was a piece of junk.
Yeah. Now, were there any gaps in that training that you only realized, or were there gaps in that training that you only realized once you're in combat? So, did you have any issues to where like maybe the training didn't align with your, down there in Vietnam?
Yeah, it was just the closest thing was that they had an LZ with some bunkers on it or something to make it similar to what I ended up finding when I got to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
But outside of that, we didn't really do any jungle training or anything like that. Or what is jungle training anyway? I mean,
Right.
I could take you there in 1 week. You'd know as much as I did about Vietnam.
Right.
There isn't that much for jungle training. It's not like or you're got a little knife in your mouth and you're crawling through the jungle to find the bad guy or something.
Right.
That doesn't happen too often.
Like a John Rambo movie.
Yeah. So, but what was it? Oh, well, I probably shouldn't say this, but I'll say it anyway. Okay, so we're there, and they tell you when we get there, there's people from the different forts. We all end up at Fort Polk to go through jungle training. It's about 12, 13 weeks or whatever the heck it was. And so anyway, the officers and the NCOs are telling her, well, you're all going to Vietnam. So, okay, that's for a fact. Okay. And a lot of guys would go every morning, would get up and go to the sick call, which didn't do them a bit of good.
Right.
In fact, when we finally graduated, they told these guys, they said, well, you're going to Vietnam. But one thing, let me tell you, because every morning you guys went on sick call, we got the best doctors in the world in Vietnam. So when you go there, make sure you tell the doctors about all your problems. I'm sure they'll be really sympathetic. But the thing I was going to say also, so we're there for I don't know how long, and all the NCOs come in one day and said, well, we got to clean the barracks. We got a colonel coming through. We got a big inspection, and we got to make it look spick and span. We're sitting there. I don't know if it was. I know I was part of the instigation or instigated the problem. Oh, I'll clean this place. What? I said, what are you going to do? Send me to Vietnam?
Right.
You will clean a barracks, you clean it up. I'm not cleaning nothing.
Right.
So we laid around the bunks and let the sergeants run around and clean it up.
Definitely. Like a dog and pony show.
You got to watch what you say. You want to shoot your mouth off. Oh, you guys all going to Vietnam.
Yeah,
okay,
definitely.
We're going to Vietnam. But you're going to clean the barracks.
Right.
So it was stuck at them.
That's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah.
Now, when you, what was your first impression when you arrived in Vietnam? The land, the people, the atmosphere. What did you think when you first arrived?
Well, we going there. We ended up. I think I told you, Grandma. I think it was Seaboard Airlines, and that I don't know if they still. I remember the Seaboard Railroad, believe it or not, but and it was like a regular plane. We had stewardess and all that stuff, and they. We're not that you were getting a caviar and a beer or anything. I
right.
Even that a drink on there. But, we flew in there, and I think it was Da Nang, because that was the most, at that time it was the biggest and most, busiest airport in the world at that time, Da Nang. And we land in there, and as you're coming in, you can look around, or you see off in the distance, bridges all blown up and everything else.
Oh, wow.
You get to thinking, what the heck's going on? And then, of course, they open the door and you get a blast of hot air. But that heat never bothered me. To this day, heat doesn't bother me, but it never bothered me with the heat. So that was pretty much it. You land there and you say, well, what are you going to do?
Oh, there we are. Here we go.
You're going to duck in the cargo place and in the plane, maybe back to the United States. I don't think that's going to work either. So I'm there. I'll make the best of it. Right. I made the best of it when I got there.
So, what was your reaction when you first came across somebody that was Vietnamese, or somebody, or maybe like South Vietnamese troops that were with you guys? Or
they weren't very good. We went. That was, we were in operations. Sometimes squad, sometimes platoon, sometimes company. And no matter what they want. So we went to villages and stuff. And most people did their thing, and we didn't pay much attention to them. And they didn't pay much. But some of them were Viet Cong. They were. They had a chance to kill you if they could. But, I didn't pay much attention to them. I have, the thing is, I have a gun.
Right.
So I don't have to put up with
Right,
not that
that's
I'm going to
true.
kill somebody. I
Right,
mean, just to shoot some poor sap for the hell of it. But
But right.
you know, that's what when you go in, you were in the army. You know what I'm saying? Everybody's equal in the army because everybody got a gun.
Right.
So nobody's going to bother me. I always said if I can kill it, I'm worried about it.
Right. True. Yeah.
It was the way I always felt. So some of them were nice people, some weren't, but most of them they were living an everyday daily life, and most of them were farmers growing rice and stuff and whatever else, and they lived in hooches, and they just get a bunch of branches together and heat some food, and they slept on mats in these hooches, and they try to live a normal life under the conditions of a war going around.
Right.
And so I didn't. Most of them, I didn't pay much attention to them. Most of them probably didn't pay much attention to me. But I was telling your grandma one thing, when you were there and you got all them rice paddies around there. In some areas there was a lot of rice paddies and stuff. And they'd have a dike on there. It'd be about as wide as, maybe a little wider than this table. Maybe a little, almost as wide as this area here. And everybody makes travels. That's your way of getting around, because on both sides, all around is rice paddies.
I see. Yeah.
So that's how you make. And sometimes, it was kind of fun. They becoming some of the people we could, do our thing. But when these kids, a lot of times, they were adults too, mostly kids, maybe have 5 or 6 water buffaloes. They use to harness to work the paddies. And they come down. Now you move off to the side on a water buffalo, because I don't know if they were big as a Cape buffalo, but they were big enough to kill you.
Right.
I don't think even a 16 would drop one of them things.
Right.
So you had to share the pathway of going that way. And with the rice paddies there, you couldn't use tanks because they're just sinking rice paddies. APCs, we used some of them to get around, but most everything was they drop us in helicopters. If we're going to go with a big deal, we'd go in a Chinook.
Right.
Most of the time, we'd maybe half dozen Hueys, and we all be in the different Hueys, and we just they drop us off wherever we're going or something.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
And then this isn't one of the questions, but I remember before you told me about you were in a Huey before, since we brought up the topic of Hueys, and some guy got shot in his transistor radio.
Oh, that was a Chinook. Now, I was in Huey's, believe it or not. You're flying into someplace and you can see shit flying by you.
Yeah.
Wow. I see pops of smoke, and they're not mad. They're not the happy people.
Yeah.
But what happened was, we're flying in a Chinook and we land in a little kind of nowhere. What the hell's going on? Right. They said, we've been shot down.
Wow.
Well, Chinooks make a lot of rackets. They didn't hear anything, but we knew it got shot because we were sitting there, and one of the guys sitting by him was a black guy, and all black guys have transistor radios. I'm just kidding. Yeah. Everybody, I guess, had one.
Right.
Except me. But anyway, he got shot in his transistor radio.
Wow, that's crazy. Yeah. But no injury or anything like that. Just his radio. Just his radio. He never got injured.
Yeah, I didn't get him.
Wow.
He didn't even cut him, I don't think. Now I had we were. Go ahead. I don't know.
Oh no, go ahead.
No, I was going to say we were wandering around in one of our patrols one time, and when you make these patrols, you're usually about 5 feet between people. You don't punch up, and they know who's in charge. They always. We didn't work. We're in I Corps. You didn't salute anybody in I Corps. You didn't have to. That was part of the thing.
Oh, that's cool.
And we didn't wear any sergeant stripes and any of that baloney in the I Corps.
Yeah, sanitized uniform, they would call it today.
Yeah. But they knew, hell, the guys in charge, like when I would go out and run a squad and I was out, the guy with me was the radio. If the radio man's with somebody, the guy who's with him is the guy in charge.
Right.
So, I mean, I don't know who would think they were trying to fool, but...
Yeah, you are right about that, yeah.
But, what I was going to say about another episode, like I told you about with the guy getting hit in the rear by transistor. We're going down the road in a I thought it was just maybe it was a platoon, because the lieutenant was with us, our platoon lieutenant, and he was about 5 or 6 people ahead of me, and all of a sudden everybody scatters. What the hell's going on? What had happened was, and it was him. He had stepped on a bouncing Betty. Bouncing Betty's going to go up about 3 feet in the air, and they go off. Well, what happened was he stepped on it, and he ignited it, and went up, and thank God it hit him in the rear. And hit the ground, it was spinning all over the place, but thank God it didn't go
Oh
off.
wow,
If
yeah.
it wouldn't have hit him in the ear, it would have in the rear, it would have went up high enough and went off, and could have killed people.
Right, right.
Yeah,
That's incredible.
And he had another one where this one guy always liked walking point, and so he was with us about a month or so, and he was always like. And one day we were going around a hill, and a hand grenade rolled down the hill, and thank God it didn't go off on him, or it did, but it didn't get him. And that was the end. He didn't like walking points anymore.
Wow. One other question I wanted to ask you too. This wasn't one that I wrote down, but I remember one time you told me about something with purchasing beer from someone, and then you think that they may have booby trapped the latrine.
You got a good memory.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had come in from an operation, and the ARVN, that was the Vietnamese army on our side, were in there. So this guy, only beer you could find was warm Valentine beer.
Mm-hmm.
So we come in, and this guy, it was about 4 or 5 guys with me and my buddies, and he says, beer. I said, how much? $8. So anyway, we look around, and we come up with about $3 in that Monopoly money of theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Here, so we take the beer. Whoa, I went 8, not 3. So he started to. So one of the guys said, look, either take the 3 and leave, or we'll shoot your ass and throw you down on the barbed wire. So he runs up and tells my captain, and my captain knew us, of course, because he was been our captain for months.
Right.
And he looked down and he said, well, he probably would. And then the next day, somebody was complaining because it was base camp, and it was a terrain thing where you open the thing and you sit on one of them stools or openings, and the barrels were underneath there that they crap into.
Mm-hmm.
And somebody went in the morning to open and found a wire. And went around, I think there was a hand grenade on the end.
Wow.
So I told somebody, I said, that probably was.
Right.
And one of our boys getting even with stealing his beer.
Right.
So I didn't know for a fact.
You didn't know, but you think so.
It had to be a guy in camp.
Right.
For sure.
Most definitely. Yeah. All right, so now we got our impression of Vietnam, the land, the people, the atmosphere. Did your thoughts about being there shift after you've been there for quite a while, let's say like a month or so? Did your thoughts change from like you first arrived, you're like, what's going on here, to like you've been in it for a good minute? We'll say maybe even
I know. Yeah. No, it's just what we had to do.
Right.
I politically, you didn't even think about that.
Right. You didn't have time.
I'm here. What the hell?
Yeah.
What else can Johnson do?
Right.
I mean, so no, we never thought about it. You do again. That's your job.
Right.
Not that I'm a great soldier or anything like that. It was my job.
Mm-hmm.
So my job was to get there and not so much win the war, because you could see they didn't care about winning.
Right.
It was just because Johnson was stooping up, and McNamara, who was another half-wit. Mm-hmm. In fact, McNamara, like I told you, McNamara, you can read it. I'm not just saying something. McNamara went nuts. Johnson took him off that Secretary of Defense job and gave him the World Bank to run, and he bankrupted that right after that. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah, he was one of the guys. McNamara belonged to a group called the Whiz Kids during World War II. I think they belonged with the Air Force. And when the war ended, Henry Ford II, the Deuce they call him, hired McNamara and them guys to run Ford for him because they were supposed to be really brilliant people. Mm-hmm. So Johnson steals McNamara, I forget the whole thing, and ends making him Secretary of Defense, and everybody thought, well, he got the smartest guy in the world, Secretary of Defense. Mm-hmm. But, they did a horrible job.
Oh, yeah.
So, but anyway, so no, we don't think politics there. You just, you're thinking of surviving.
Right. Right. You just don't have time for that. Yeah.
And panic or anything like that about it, or you're gonna die tomorrow. You just know you want.
Right.
You got a goal and make it home.
Right.
In one piece, which I was fortunate enough to do. Not everybody was, but I was. So,
definitely.
But I didn't think politics or anything. Nobody did.
Right.
Yeah. You more think about the people you're working with and stuff like that. You make friends. Mm-hmm. Everybody tries to get along. Nobody's trying to be cause any problems
Right.
with each other.
Right.
Now, some people don't get along. If you don't get along with somebody, don't go by.
Right, right.
Like I say, everybody has a gun.
Right.
You never know how far nerves will stretch. So,
That's
not
true.
that I ever seen anybody threaten to kill each other by
Right,
any means,
right.
but yeah, no, people on the other side want to kill you. So you don't,
That's true. So that's your, you know, what I
yeah,
mean, yeah.
but yeah, I didn't politics didn't enter at all.
Excellent. Well, so that said, can you describe your first experience in combat and how it has affected you?
You know, I thought about that, and I told your grandma that, and I mentioned that to somebody a couple of weeks ago. You know, I'm a big, I think the world of Donald Trump. But there's one thing I got over Donald Trump. I was shot at more times than he was. So
Right.
the first time somebody shot at me,
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Right.
But I would, yeah. And I was trying to think of something, and it was something happened, but I still can't come to my mind what the heck it was. That something goofy, but I still can't remember. You know, the ones we dealt with. Something was supposed to, even some of the mountain yards, they were supposed to be like Indians in Vietnam, and that was a thing that I always remember, because when I got out of service, there was a lot of people out of the service, and you might be sitting in a bar or something, and somebody started telling you some war story, and I'm thinking, that's bullshit.
Right, right.
Like these mountain yards were supposed to be like Indians in America or something. Well, if they were, you know, we might run into them or something. Well, I didn't know for a fact they were mountain yards or who they were, but we one time we were walking down through a valley, and they opened up on us. They were up in the hills there, and remember really seeing them.
Right.
And
So to clarify, these guys are like NVA.
They were supposed to be like American Indians. They were like people who lived like Indians in Vietnam.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like, okay, yep.
Yeah. In fact, we used to serve with them at least a couple of weeks. They were good guys. A group that I served with had nothing to do with that, but was nationalists, Chinese nationalists who lived for hundreds of years in Vietnam. They were a platoon of them, and they were out. The government paid them to go out and kill the bad guys, and we hooked up with them, and they were fun guys. They were great. Yeah. I kind of got a nickname, Mad Dog. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. I have no idea. So I was sitting there, and this one of these Chinaman's coming around to me. Hey, Mad Dog. I said, yeah, what's up? I'm Mad Dog too. Couldn't know you, buddy.
Yeah.
But anyway, one thing we did with them, I think we got in a firefight with some people when they were helping us. But one thing they did, we were out boars, wild boars running around. They said, "You guys want to eat them?" And they said, "Sure, you don't eat anything but it's sea ration crap."
Right.
So we shot a bunch of them. They grew, and they wrote history, or anybody call it. They put the cleaning thing through them, and they cooked them up.
It was pretty good.
Yeah, it was good. Yeah, they were. Well, that's what they did. They were Chinese people who lived like the regular Vietnam people, and they were good people. Yeah,
now I remember you told me before that they didn't like your guys' sea rations. Like they wouldn't even dare touch your guys' sea rations.
Well, that's possible.
Yeah.
The story you're kind of thinking of is probably the one that I heard about on Guadalcanal in World War II. They caught a Jap after they'd been there for a while, and they said, "Well, how the hell did you live?" Roots and berries. He said, "I got some of your sea rations." He said, "I went back to eating those roots and berries."
Oh.
So that could have been very well.
Right.
Got one time we found a bag, it was a plastic bag. There was peppers and rice and stuff, and it was their sea ration, and it was better than ours.
Maybe that's it. Yeah.
It was it. And I probably told you the other story when you're dealing with that too. My one buddy, Wilcox. Wilcox was a cool dude. He was a Hell's Angel from Pismo Beach, California. He was a good guy. My buddy Wilcox. Anyway, him and I, we had chased the bad guys out of a village, and we're wandering around there. And there's a big plastic bag there with some white stuff. And Wilcox, coming from California, had an idea with it. Says, "Steve, I think that's heroin." I said, "Well, Wilcox, if you do anything with that, I never see it. I don't know. He says, Steve, they catch me trying to ship that shit home, I'll be in prison for 20 years.
Right.
So because he opened up and tasted, yeah, it's heroin. It's a whole big bag of heroin. There was my we getting rich overnight.
Right.
Threw it up in the air and let the wind blow it away.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Now, so next question is, what did your typical day look like as an infantryman in Vietnam?
Well, it was a matter of where we were at, what we were doing at the time of year. We were there, I was there during the monsoons, and it rained, and it rained, and it rained.
Oh, yeah.
The sun would be out and it'd be raining.
Right.
And you just stayed wet.
Mhm.
And, I never had that much problem being wet or anything.
Right.
And sometimes when we out on an operation, it might be a big operation or just a small one where a platoon of us go out.
Mhm.
And at night, wherever we were, we just stood. If we wanted to, we'd either lay down and go to sleep with your head on your helmet, or if it was in an area where you thought we were going to have problems, you would dig a trench.
Right.
And it worked. One time we were it was a river, and I forgot what the heck we were there. And we dug a couple trenches there. And it was me and I can't remember how many. It wasn't too many, about a squad. Me and a couple of guys. We had dug a trench, and hell no, we did, because they opened up on us. They're on the other side of the river. They opened up on us, and they lobbed some mortar rounds at us. Thank goodness none of the mortar rounds landed on us.
Oh wow, yeah.
Blow the shit out of us. But anyway, they opened up. So we called the jets, and some jets came in and were dropping bombs. And I don't know if it was that time or some other. It could have been that time. A jet come in and dropped crap on him, and you could see some clown shoot the jet with a rifle. I said, that's a strange dude.
Right.
Try to drop a jet with a rifle.
Right.
But yeah, it matters what we were doing, Stevie.
Mm-hmm.
If we weren't out on operations, we would be in bunker. Anytime we came in on LZ, it was usually that another outfit left the LZ, and we would go in and take the bunkers over and bunker guard the LZ. And it was a good deal because you got to eat. Most LZs have a whatever you call it, a place where you can eat.
Oh, a chow hall.
Yeah. Be eating on the shit out of the
Right.
can. Yeah, the dogs. We feed my dog. That's
Right.
the only thing with me.
Yeah.
I didn't eat that much, and I could survive. I thought it was about 170 pounds soaking wet. I'm a little more than that now, about 230, or not 230, about 204. But yeah. So.
Do you remember what was like the nastiest or maybe best sea ration that you had? But we'll stick with the nastiest. I heard it was those little hot dogs.
No, honestly, I never had hot dogs. We had Franks and beans, and it was good. I mean, people died for that stuff. Fruit cocktail was about the only things, and they have a can with fruit cake in there, and I found that pretty good. A lot of people thought that wasn't the greatest, but the beef and some of the other crap was horrible.
Oh yeah.
Now we came up with I think it was C4 now that I thought about it, because I mentioned your grandma and I couldn't think of the name of it. What we came up with was you had C4, that plastic stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You get chop a piece of that off, squirt some of your mosquito spray on it, and you could light it, and you put your can right over it, and you warm it up.
Oh, nice.
And that was how you warm it up. Yeah, that was pretty cool.
That's cool.
They always said don't jump on it because it'll blow your butt.
Right.
That was one way of heating up a can of something to make it halfway tolerable. Yeah.
And I remember, maybe you told me this, but Grandma would send care packages, or somebody would send care packages.
Yes, she did.
Of SpaghettiOs, and you guys would take turns sharing the SpaghettiOs.
Oh yeah, we had it was one time she sent me two. Somebody stole one of them. Probably a jackass was working the mill.
Yeah, probably.
But one made it out there, and it was kind of. It ruined Jesse Jackson's life and all these other crazy racist people. Because here we are, there's about four of us sitting around, a black guy and three white guys, and we're sharing the can. Spaghetti eating out the same spoon and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, that ruined Jesse Jackson's whole life.
Right, no racism there. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So, yeah, we did get see that a good goodie package from your grandma.
That's good.
She sent me an helmet against somebody else ate it.
Right, probably got lost. And
Yeah.
somebody took it out of the mill. Absolutely. So that said, you got the rain, the food. Now, was there like you came across leeches? Leeches?
Oh
all the
yeah,
time?
yeah. Now, see the mosquito spray. You always kept a little bottle right on hooked on your helmet there.
Mhm.
You probably see a Vietnam guys. Remember, you asked me at the time, got a picture of me? I said, "That's me."
Right.
We all look the same.
Mhm.
And you see, they had the helmet with the strap to hold on that thing on your helmet, and right there you see a little white bottle. That was your mosquito spray.
Oh, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
now that mosquito spray, I told you, spray it on a C4, you can light it. The other thing, mosquito spray was good, especially, I think it was, I thought to think later, it probably was monsoon season. You'd wake up in the monsoon season in the morning, you wake up or out in the jungle or someplace, and you have leeches all over you. And you squirt the mosquito spray on them, and usually it fell off.
Do you remember your first reaction when you first had a leech on you? You're like, what is this thing?
Yeah, I did. I probably more than anything was pissed off.
Right.
It's hard.
Yeah.
Because everything's pissed off.
Yeah.
You got trees that have thorns on them. I mean,
Right.
so it's an odd place, you know.
Mhm.
And you asked about the surroundings and stuff. We were through mountains. I've been through mountains. I was through more like deserts. I was through jungles. I think I told you the story. I was point guard, a point man, point man, and they give and it was through the jungle. I mean, and this shit was thick. I mean, a guy could be where that door is, and you wouldn't see him in. So I'm whacking my way through with this thing, and finally I told the platoon sergeant, "Enough of this shit," and I threw it in the jungle there. Oh, they can booby trap that. I said that thing could cut butter somewhere.
Right.
And my buddy had the scabies. Well, don't need this either. But I mean, it was pretty thick and pretty hard to cut through with that thing. My arm was getting tired of swinging that stupid thing.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah.
I had one. I didn't personally, but it happened. Another one of the guys that were walking point. This is not always at the guys walking point hurt, but it happened a lot of times. It could happen. We had one guy. He was walking point and went around a hill. And him and a goop met.
Wow.
Now, as usual, his 16 jam. Had, a rarity, the AK-47 jam.
Wow.
But he also carried on a 45. Took out, shot the guy, killed him with a 45. Yeah. So, yeah, it was a kind of a weird one.
You had a story, I believe you said, where you shot, I want to say it's like a grenade launcher. It didn't have enough rotations on there.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
I wasn't there at the time, but, or maybe I was there, but it didn't happen. It was there. We were in a village, and a guy went into a hooch, and a Viet Cong, I had to be a Viet Cong, I don't think it was NBA, went running out the back, and he went and he shot him with his grenade. You either carried an M16 or a grenade launcher, or if you're a big dude, we'd give you the M60 machine gun.
Yeah.
And we all look like Mexican bandits, because if you see pictures of them guys, everybody had belts of 60 ammunition, right?
Bandoliers, I think they call it.
Yeah. So, and the grenade launcher guys were usually pretty good at what they did. And when he seen the guys taking off, he shot him with his grenade launcher. But it hit him in the back and knocked the son of a gun down, but he got up and kept running.
Wow.
But
it broke his back.
If it had been a couple more rotations, it blew the shit out of the guy. But they didn't have enough rotations.
Right.
So many spins, I guess, for
the detonator the charge.
And them things had two things. They were called grenade launcher, and they had a grenade thing, or they had another round that was a bunch of BBs in it, and they could shoot that at somebody.
Oh,
it was like a shotgun shell. Those were the two things. And we carried around for a while. We had a big black guy when we first went over there, and we carried around. This guy carried around, looked like a bazooka, and we had about 3 or 4 rounds. I didn't think it was a good idea, but the lieutenant we had at the time thought it was. Well, unfortunately, a lot of them guys got hurt, so we just got rid of it and never took it up with us anymore after that.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I didn't see him. You know, we were new.
Right,
Including the lieutenant. In fact, that poor lieutenant got wounded. I forget what happened to him. He got shot, and then he went back. He went to the hospital and he got relieved, and he went to another hospital. And poor guy got himself killed someplace else. Unfortunately for him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it happens sometimes.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, that said, how did you and your fellow soldiers, fellow infantrymen, support each other through maybe some like tough moments? Just, I was thinking, as a kind of like a guided question for you. Each one had their own job, their own, you know.
Well, you know, the tough moments is when somebody gets hurt. You gotta, you know, you get the helicopter, the medevac comes in. You got to get them on a stretcher and get them on a medevac and get them out of there. So.
Right. Would you say that any person within your unit, within your group, had a impact on you? Was it the guy from the Hells Angels?
Not really.
No.
You know, Grandma and I were saying that. No, we just, you know, we're learning together because most of them came in with me, and then some we lost some guys, of course, through different reasons, and then more guys came in maybe a couple months after being there for all the replacements, and everybody kind of falls in place, and you kind of buddy up with different people. You know, there's a certain group of guys I kind of hung around with, there's a certain group of guys somebody else I hung around with. So, I kind of lost my train of thought. What were we going to say?
Oh yeah, no, you're good. So I asked if you kind of like were kind of like leaning towards certain people within your unit, but I guess the real question, another question I wanted to ask you too was, did you ever come across anybody that was from your hometown or anybody that was drafted with you?
Yeah, you know, that I didn't, but it.
No.
Nah.
Okay.
I think about it.
Okay. And then,
well, maybe I can. A guy came from Indiana someplace. He was up north. And somebody said, so-and-so's from Indiana. I said, well, yeah. And so I'll get a chance to talk to him. Well, the next day he was dead.
Oh.
Yeah.
So, what was it like coming home after being in Vietnam? How were you received?
I didn't have any problem because I didn't go through San Francisco. I went and I came back through Fort Lewis, Washington. What the hell is that airport up there?
That's on tip of my tongue as well.
No, Seattle.
Yeah.
Tacoma.
Tacoma, yeah. Yep.
So I had no problem at all with people bothering me if I didn't even notice them. And then we came home, and from there we were at Fort Lewis for a couple of days, and then we came home. And we were at O'Hara. I was waiting for your grandma to pick me up, or Uncle David. And we were sitting around with a bunch of guys from different places, I think, and waiting for the ride to go home from O'Hara. And some Englishmen were there.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah.
They were merchant marines, and what they were doing in Chicago was beyond me. So we got to talking because they were one of the people who delivered stuff to Vietnam for us. You know, like beer and stuff. I asked them, I said, hey, how come I never could find a beer? He said, well, what them officers would do when they brought the beer and stuff in there, they would walk along and take a stick or something and crack a couple of beers. And then they would say, well, that whole caisson's ruined because you can see here. So they'd take the whole caisson, sell it to the villagers, and the villagers would sell it to us.
Oh,
so
wow.
They were making money
Right.
with my beer. So that was one. But they bought us a beer while we were sitting there because guys
cool.
only got beer for all the money we made delivering stuff to you guys in Vietnam.
Right.
So I was like, okay.
That's awesome.
So like I say, I never, and even when I got home, everybody, I was
right, because
looking for a job. I come home and I got your grandma waiting for me and two kids, and no prospects. Everybody say, well, you could say you're in the Army. I said, yeah, I could tell them I was an infantry, and that and $1 would get me a loaf of bread.
Right, yeah.
Nobody cared what you were at.
Yeah.
That's probably not as bad as World War II when everybody come home and you're looking for a job.
It's true. Yeah.
But yeah, I was just looking for a job.
Mhm.
That stuff where people claim they have mental problems, and somebody said, yeah. I said, well, not really. I said, I didn't have time to have a mental breakdown.
Right.
I gotta come home. I got a wife and 2 kids. I gotta find a job.
Right. Yeah.
Walking around saying I'm a dive under a table or something when a fire tractor goes off or something.
Right.
I don't have time to do that crap.
Right. Now, did you feel like that the government or President Johnson cared about the sacrifices that the soldiers were making in Vietnam?
Your grandma and I were talking about that earlier.
Mm-hmm.
Earlier today, and then later on it came to me. I had forgotten about it. Well, she was with me when I was in Fort Hood, and she came there, be with me, and she was there for so many months. We were there, and then they made this battalion, and I was going to belong with the battalion to go to Vietnam.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was there, and one day at around 4 o'clock or something, it was time to go home because I lived on base with grandma.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we got President Johnson's going to be here tomorrow. Oh, okay. So anyway, next day, old Lyndon showed up. And what happened was, this clown, he comes there, we get there like 6 in the morning waiting for this idiot. And then he doesn't get there till about 2 in the afternoon. And the story was out, he had stopped us, and in Texas, they got about 5,000 colleges.
Right.
He stopped us in college to explain to these kids in college who didn't like him that the war was the best thing since sliced bread. Mm-hmm. So he gets there at helicopter 1, gets off the helicopter, gets in a Jeep. Now, I'm sure he knows we're going to Vietnam.
Right.
The whole battalion. Mm-hmm. Gets in the Jeep, rides around, gets back on a helicopter, and flew away.
Wow.
Didn't say drop dead or anything. Mm-hmm. Didn't say a word.
Wow.
And then they supposedly was over before that talking to some stupid kids in college about how great the war was. So I was not happy about it. And anyway, a day or so later, I can't remember what it was, I called my dad up. Mm-hmm. Said, how you guys doing, everything? I said, Johnson was here. And your grandma seen him because they were all standing around there. I said, Johnson come here, got off the helicopter, rode around on a Jeep, got back on the helicopter and said a word. I said, I had no good. And I was calling him everything with a white man.
Right.
Just firing away out of him.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden the phone went dead.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So you think they're listening in?
Yeah, I called my dad back and I said, what's cooking? Did you hang? No, I didn't hang up. Where are you calling me from? I said, well, you're on that phone.
Right.
So I started screaming. I thought I could just picture some guy sitting here bouncing off his head, screaming in there. But see, that they built that battalion up to send it over because they needed 1 million troops or whatever he was.
Right.
That clown was trying. And what they did, they just got guys from all over and put us into a battalion and did some training and stuff. Mm-hmm. So when we're ready to go, they're nervous. They thought, we could burn the fort down or something instead of going to Vietnam.
Right.
And they had spies.
Oh, I see.
I told your grandma. I was telling her today. I said, we had spies. Mm-hmm. I know them. I'm not stupid. Mm-hmm. We're ready to go, and a couple of guys in this barracks, a couple of guys here and there. Oh, we can't go. We got my mask. I've got a cold, and my socks. I gotta stay and make sure my socks are.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of bullshit story.
Yeah.
And so I said, we knew that.
Yeah.
Because you're a spy. That's why.
Right.
And they were, so when the last night or something, we already had everybody and their brother out there to make sure we didn't burn the fort down.
Mm-hmm.
And everything went smoothly.
Yeah.
Went on our stupid planes and went from Fort Hood, Texas to Fort Lewis, Washington, and from there we went to Vietnam. We stopped from Fort Lewis, we stopped in Alaska, and we stopped in Tokyo, and then we ended up in Vietnam. So
did you get to experience any of those places that you stopped in, or was it
no, we're just there. In fact, I think in Alaska, probably late enough in a year, it stayed dark 24 hours a day or something. I just remember being dark. I remember the lights in Tokyo when you come in there. A million lights all over the place. And,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't see any of that crap.
Right, right.
Mm.
I guess last question here, an important question, I guess you would say, is if you could speak directly to leaders making a decision about war today, or if you could speak to the leaders that were in charge of the Vietnam War, like Johnson or others, what would you say to them?
Well, Dwight Eisenhower made a statement years ago when talking to Kennedy about, I think it was a Cuban thing where Bay of Pigs and all that stuff. He told him, hey, if you're going to start something, finish it.
Right.
So that was what Eisenhower said. Makes sense. If you're going to start, just like not only with Johnson, but you had young Bush start a war in Afghanistan and Iraq, never finished it.
Right.
Didn't even know what he was doing.
Right.
He was, and I'm a Republican. He was as big a buffoon as Johnson. Yeah, if you're going to start something, finish it.
Right. So, right, because it come back to haunt us, you know what I mean? Yeah.
Just like Schwarzkopf did against Saddam Hussein and them when they were burning the oil wells and stuff, and when Iraq was attacking that country next to them. Schwarzkopf bombed them for about a month. 2 or 3 weeks to a month or something. Bombed them and bombed. Now you're in a desert. You can't know where to go.
Right.
They bombed the hell out of them. And then he brought the infantry in. By that time, you remember the stories. I don't know how familiar you are with them stories. They were surrendering the newsmen. And this is the greatest army in the world.
Right.
Iraq, we're going to worry. They're going to kill our soldiers. And They didn't kill anyone. I think 20-some people were killed with some bomb in a rocket or something hit some lunch place, and the poor guys were in there got killed. But these guys were surrendering everybody.
Right.
I firmly believe, because the Japs, remember, Japs took over South Vietnam, took over Vietnam. And if the Japs could do it, and we kicked Japs' ass in World War II,
right,
we could have done it. All we had to do is what I said. You warned everybody. Haiphong Harbor, the famous harbor in Hanoi. You warned them. You guys got to get your ships and stuff out of there, because in 1 week we're going to blow Haiphong Harbor to hell, and Hanoi is going with it. And if there's anybody left, our troops are going to come in and kill them. So if you want to get killed, hang around. Otherwise, better get your asses out of there. And we would have won the war in a month, 2.
Right.
They weren't going to beat us. No. But that's like I said, you gotta, I didn't go West Point, but with your common sense, like I said, what Eisenhower said, if you're going to start something, finish it.
Right. Exactly. That's good. I like that. Well, thank you, Granddad. I appreciate you.
Oh, that's all right. I hope I've done you some good.
Definitely.
Yeah.